Hi everyone, my name is Abhiraj Garikapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Abhi.
Choose your next adventure.
For those nobles who chose to remain neutral during the Civil War, the current situation is not necessarily bad. After all, they were stuck between two powerful factions and suffered greatly because of it. Surely, he says, there must be some benefit waiting for those who stayed neutral. Others point out that they did not directly support the third prince either. Just then, a man suddenly steps loudly into the room and announces the arrival of Lord Logan MacLean. After making that announcement, he stands beside the doorway as the large doors open. Logan walks into the hall, and the moment the nobles see him enter the room, the entire hall falls silent. Logan thanks everyone for attending the meeting, despite the short notice. He explains that the reason they have all been summoned today is to establish a new government for the kingdom. Hearing this immediately raises the spirits of many nobles, and they begin showing greater interest in the discussion. Count Floyd joins the conversation and declares that driving out the traitors and rebuilding the nation has all been made possible thanks to Logan's efforts. Because of that, they should all trust Logan's judgment when it comes to shaping the future government. Count Floyd even states that no one present would dare attempt to surpass Logan's authority at this moment. Other nobles quickly begin agreeing with him and add that they have no objections to Logan's decisions. They say they fully trust Logan's recommendations and are prepared to follow whatever direction he chooses. As Logan listens to them, he silently thinks that all of them are simply flattering him and trying to win his favor. However, that reaction is exactly what he expected to happen. Logan then raises his hand and tells everyone to allow him to speak his thoughts first before jumping to conclusions. Soon after, a man begins walking around the room distributing envelopes to the nobles. Each envelope contains a list of candidate names. Logan informs the nobles that these are his selections for important positions in the new government and tells them to voice any objections if they have them. As the nobles open their envelopes and read the names inside, one of them begins sweating nervously. It becomes clear that Logan carefully considered every name on that list. From the expression on Logan's face, it also seems that he is extremely satisfied with the choices he has made. The state of the kingdom is discussed as the aftermath of the Civil War slowly settles. Although the fighting has ended, the situation is far from fully resolved. It took more than a week just to clear the battlefield, and the Sword Duke Felix, who personally oversaw the entire process, needed another full week before he finally returned to the capital Grant. Not long after his return, the long-awaited coronation ceremony takes place, marking the culmination of all the struggles and sacrifices. Archbishop Crimson Matthew steps forward and announces that the coronation of the 42nd King of Grandia, ruler of the Thousand-Year Kingdom, will now begin. Among the crowd, watching the ceremony, are a young boy and his father. The boy grows impatient, but his father scolds him and tells him to pay close attention since he is the heir of their house. The father then tells his son to focus on the right side of the throne, where two figures are seated beside one another. Those two individuals, he explains, are the key figures of the Civil War, Logan MacLean and Felix Esperanza. The boy replies that he already knows who they are. One is the legendary Sword Duke, and the other is his student. Even without any formal training, the boy can feel the overwhelming power radiating from them. His father explains that those two men are now the true centers of power in the kingdom, so their family must make a good impression on them if they want to survive in the new political order. The father then tells his son to look toward the other side of the throne, where the newly appointed ministers are standing. The first among them is Count Floyd, who has just been appointed Prime Minister, and is also Logan MacLean's father-in-law. Most of the other ministers appear to stand firmly on Floyd's side as well. The boy quietly asks whether such an arrangement is truly acceptable, believing that many nobles must have objected. However, the father simply asks who would dare oppose it. After all, those decisions were ordered by the man now being called the Knight of Blood, Logan's new title that has begun spreading among the nobles. Nearby, Felix asks Logan if he heard that conversation. Felix remarks that people have started calling him the Knight of Blood. Logan shrugs and replies that he does not need to listen to every rumor people spread. Felix responds that Logan should pay attention because it is a reputation he created himself, even if it is not the one he wanted. Logan lowers his head slightly and admits that he never intended to drag Felix into so much bloodshed. Felix dismisses that idea and says those are only excuses. Still, he has satisfied that Logan understands the consequences of his actions. Felix reminds him that people always change. Even Felix himself has changed in order to protect Logan. Logan apologizes again, but Felix tells him there is nothing to apologize for since he made that decision willingly. However, Logan must always remain aware of the person he is becoming. If he forgets that, the path toward becoming a monster will open before him. Felix warns that Logan could easily become another Jordan Valtramine who died in Felix's own arms. Logan promises that he will never forget that warning. Even so, Logan asks Felix if something happened between him and the Archbishop. Felix glares at the old man as if he might kill him then says the Archbishop is simply an annoying man. Logan finds that hard to believe. Felix then reveals that the Archbishop wishes for Stella to be sent to the church, which surprises Logan. Logan realizes that this demand must be connected to something that happened during the ceremony. Felix waves the matter away, saying the church cannot force a duke to do anything, so Logan should not worry about it. Soon the ceremony resumes as the third prince enters the hall. The Archbishop presents him with the royal crown. Roger's eyes light up as he looks at it. The crown shines brilliantly, glowing so brightly that everyone in the hall stares in awe. Logan quietly recognizes it as the crown of the regent, a fifth-class artifact granted only to the descendants of grandiose royal bloodline. As the Archbishop prepares to place the crown on Roger's head, the prince kneels. The entire chamber fills with light as the crown releases a surge of mana that flows into the prince's body. Roger von Grandia is officially crowned the new king of the Grandia Kingdom. Logan remembers witnessing something similar when he met the previous king, though at the time he lacked the training to understand it. The crown contains powerful high-level protective magic, making Logan wonder how the previous king was assassinated so easily. For a moment, he even questions whether the Empire was truly responsible. Once seated on the throne, King Roger declares that to celebrate the beginning of a new era for Grandia, he will reward those who served the kingdom faithfully. He calls for Sir Logan McLean to step forward. Logan approaches and kneels before the throne. Roger proclaims that Logan is the hero who slew the traitor Jordan Valtramine and the pillar of the kingdom who walks the same path as Felix Esperanza. He even claims that Logan's strategic brilliance surpasses his physical strength. Hearing this praise nearly takes the breath out of Logan. The king continues, explaining that Logan foresaw the nation's coming disaster years ago, eliminated corrupt nobles, and helped restore the throne. Logan silently reflects that he nearly failed many times, despite knowing the future. Nevertheless, the king declares that Logan deserves a proper reward. First, Logan will receive half the territories confiscated from Marquis Kalia and half the lands taken from Marquis Cal. In addition, the former honors of House McLean are restored, and the house itself is promoted to the rank of Marquis seat. Furthermore, Logan personally receives the title of Count, separate from his family's promotion. Finally, the king declares that because he owes his throne to Logan, all subjects of the kingdom must treat Logan with the same respect they would show the king himself. The hall erupts in shock. The nobles cannot believe the scale of the rewards being given to Logan. Half the lands of both Kalia and Cal, a promotion of his house, and even a personal countship. Yet the most shocking decree is the king's command that everyone treat Logan almost as if he were the king himself. Logan is overwhelmed by the generosity and nearly breaks down in tears. When he glances toward Felix, the Sword Duke looks equally stunned and slightly alarmed. The two exchange looks, silently wondering how things escalated so far. The young king then apologizes, saying he wishes he could grant Logan even greater rewards if he had the power. He then asks Logan if there is anything else he desires. The nobles are left speechless by such an offer. Logan pauses to think. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Up High grow naturally. Before replying that he does have one small request. Although his house is now a marquis seat, he believes receiving both the Kalia and Cal territories would be excessive and could create a bad precedent for future generations. The king admits Logan may be right, but argues that rewarding the kingdom's greatest hero with only the single title would also be an unfortunate precedent. Logan smiles slightly and says that if it is the king's will, he will obey, but he would prefer to receive the Terran lands, a barren region located in the center of the kingdom. Both the king and the nobles are confused, because those plains have been nearly worthless ever since the mines there closed 2 centuries ago. The king asks if Logan truly wants territory so far from his current lands. Logan confirms that he does. The king jokingly asks if Logan is trying to make him look stingy, but Logan explains that he only wishes to avoid harming the king's reputation by accepting excessive rewards. In truth, Logan has his own reasons for requesting those lands, though appearing humble also helps his reputation. The king ultimately agrees, but decides to grant Logan something extra anyway: the Upper Kalia region that connects Terran to McLean territory. Logan thinks this arrangement will still provide useful income and gratefully accepts. The remaining rewards are distributed quickly. Duke Felix Esperanza is promoted to Archduke and granted the former territories of Talos and Cherno to expand his domain. Felix thanks the king, though Logan notices he does not appear particularly pleased. Logan remembers how difficult it was to convince Felix to accept such power, since Felix has never been greedy. Logan also arranged this strategically. With the Marquis families gone, the western border would be dangerously exposed if the Empire invaded, and Felix is the only man Logan trusts to defend it. Felix then receives another unexpected honor. The king appoints him as a royal advisor to the court due to the king's own lack of experience. Felix looks shocked and immediately turns toward Logan with an angry glare, clearly suspecting Logan arranged this as well. Logan quickly looks away, pretending innocence, since he truly cannot think of anyone else trustworthy enough for the position. The ceremony continues as other nobles, even those who remained neutral during the war, receive various rewards. Logan privately thinks of these gifts as advance payments for the loyalty he expects from them in the future. Some nobles loudly declare that they only wish to serve the kingdom faithfully. At the end of the ceremony, the king asks everyone to raise their glasses. Together they toast to the beginning of a new era for the Kingdom of Grandia, marking the start of a new chapter in its long history. A week-long celebration follows the coronation, and the entire capital is filled with festivities. The streets are crowded with people praising the new king, and the atmosphere throughout the city is joyful. As one seems incredibly happy, he then starts thinking about Logan, mentioning how exhausted Logan looked after the war ended. Even so, Logan was still smiling while speaking with Patrick, and that sight made Ronian feel relieved. Victor tells him that Logan is strong, so he will be fine no matter what. Ronian replies that Logan is still family, so there is no way he could avoid worrying about him. However, Ronian says there is something else he wants to talk about. He complains that Victor continues speaking to him very formally, even though Ronian already told him to relax and speak casually whenever they are alone. Victor responds that Ronian is the brother of his master, so speaking respectfully simply feels natural to him. Ronian tells him not to worry about such things and suggests that they should enjoy the festival themselves. Then Ronian suddenly tells Victor that he can go explore the celebration alone. As Ronian turns toward a nearby stall, he notices a stand selling many pieces of jewelry. Because of the war, merchants are selling many valuables cheaply, and Ronian remarks that these kinds of things would definitely catch a girl's interest. That comment instantly grabs Victor's attention. Ronian casually tells him that if he is not interested in going with him, he could at least tell him what kind of jewelry he likes, so he can buy something for her as a gift. Hearing that clearly annoys Victor. After a moment, Victor abruptly changes his mind and tells Ronian that he will come along after all. While Ronian is examining the jewelry, he suddenly notices something unusual within the crowd. He spots Logan and Eileen walking together while holding hands. Surprised, Ronian immediately calls out to them from the crowd. Victor quickly panics and clamps his hand over Ronian's mouth to silence him. Victor then turns his head toward Ronian and shakes it firmly in disapproval. At that moment, Ronian finally realizes what is going on. The two of them quietly retreat and slip away into the crowd. Although it seems they might have already been noticed, Logan turns toward Eileen and asks whether she also heard Ronian calling out earlier. Eileen says she is not certain. She then tells Logan that this is the first time they have been able to go out together in a long while, so he should forget about work for now and simply enjoy a break. Logan agrees with her suggestion. As they walk through the lively festival, Logan remarks that he cannot even remember the last time he was able to relax like this. Hearing that makes Eileen laugh softly. While walking beside him, she suddenly notices something. The aura surrounding her sword catches her attention and reminds her of an earlier moment. She remembers the day Logan gave that sword to her. At the time, Logan said that the gift was not meant for the Floyd Knight Eileen, but for his fiancée Eileen. Thinking about it again, she realizes that Logan essentially proposed to her that day without any hesitation. At first, their engagement was simply arranged so she could become a knight, but when Logan addressed her as his fiancée, those words filled her with happiness. Eileen suddenly slaps her own cheek slightly to calm herself, telling herself not to get carried away. Even so, Eileen cannot stop thinking about it. Since she already accepted Logan's proposal, it would only make sense for them to marry soon, and even her father wishes for the marriage to happen. That is why she was so surprised when Logan suddenly assigned her as his bodyguard instead. However, as she looks around at the festival and realizes that Logan chose to spend this time with her, she begins wondering whether this outing is not a mission at all. Maybe Logan truly feels the same way she does. They look so good together. After all the narration I've done, I hope I will at least get a wedding invitation. During their walk through the festival, it looks like Logan wants to say something to Eileen. After walking quietly for a while, he finally asks her whether it is uncomfortable for her to wear armor all the time. Eileen replies that it is not uncomfortable at all, and explains that this is simply what is expected from a knight. Even so, she secretly wonders if she should have worn a dress instead. Logan then says that he actually thinks what she is wearing is perfectly fine. He tells her that the armor she has on is an excellent set of equipment. Hearing that compliment makes Eileen blush slightly. Logan continues, explaining that the armor is made from mithril, so naturally its quality is exceptional. Since it was crafted specifically for her body, it should also be very comfortable to wear. Logan then concludes that just as he expected, Eileen truly is a model knight. Embarrassed, Eileen tells him that he should not praise her so much and quietly wonders to herself whether this kind of conversation is normal during a date. The answer is clearly no. Still, the two of them continue walking together until they eventually enter a blacksmith's shop. While examining a sword on display, Eileen remarks that it appears to be a weapon of very high quality. At the same time, she keeps thinking about their outing. Even if their time together does not resemble a typical date, it still feels enjoyable to her. After all, neither of them is particularly normal. Considering their lives, the fact that they had to catch an assassin during what was supposed to be a date proves just how unusual their relationship already is. Even so, Eileen quietly admits to herself that she is having a wonderful time. Later that evening, they finally return to the estate. Logan casually says that they have arrived home, and Eileen reacts with surprise because the day seemed to pass so quickly. Then Eileen addresses Logan formally as Lord and asks him if he might have forgotten something important. Logan looks confused and asks what she means. Wondering if she is talking about money or something practical, Eileen clarifies her question, hinting that Logan may have forgotten to say something to her. Unfortunately, Logan still does not understand what she is trying to imply. For someone who is an incredible strategist and a powerful swordsman, Logan appears surprisingly clueless when it comes to women. After a moment, it almost seems like Logan might finally understand what she means. Instead, Logan apologizes politely and asks her to forgive his poor manners because he made her stand guard during the festival. This response is absolutely not what Eileen expected to hear. Logan continues speaking and tells her that he will make sure she gets several days off later as compensation. He even suggests that she should return now and rest properly. To make matters worse, he adds that it might be better for her to enjoy the rest of the festival with her friends or family instead. Hearing those words leaves Eileen speechless. Without saying anything, she begins walking away from him. Logan, still completely confused, calls out and asks where she is going. Eileen suddenly stops and slowly turns around. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Pi grow naturally. Repeating Logan's question with an unsettling expression on her face, she answers that she is going to clock out for the day. The expression on Logan's face shows that he may have finally realized he made a terrible mistake. Eileen then storms toward the estate, leaving Logan standing there watching her disappear. As Logan looks after her, he finally starts wondering if he did something wrong. Right now, drop me a comment with what you think will happen next between these two. Meanwhile, Victor and Ronan have been watching the entire situation from a distance. As soon as they see what just happened, both of them run toward Logan. Ronan immediately realizes that Logan is now in serious trouble. The following morning, a discussion is taking place at the Esperanza estate. Logan has just told Felix about what happened after his outing with Eileen the previous night. The Sword Duke listens carefully, then stares at Logan in disbelief and asks if he truly has no idea what he did wrong. Logan answers, honestly, saying that he spent the entire night thinking about it, yet he still cannot figure it out. Hearing that, Felix lowers his head in frustration and mutters that even he was not this dense when he was younger. He reminds Logan that Eileen is still his fiancée and says that this situation has gone far enough. Then Felix tells Logan that it is time for him to raise his sword again. According to Felix, Logan needs to overcome his weakness and he intends to help him do exactly that. Logan accepts immediately and says that he is ready. Logan reflects on everything he experienced during the Civil War. Throughout that conflict, he fought many powerful opponents and faced numerous brutal battles. Through those fights, he began to glimpse something beyond simply using aura. However, seeing that next level is very different from actually surpassing it. To achieve that step forward, Logan knows he will need help from someone stronger than himself. Felix tells Logan that if he can now withstand aura directly, then it proves he has grown considerably. Felix even praises Logan for the progress he has made so far. But the next moment, Felix tightens his grip on his sword and flashes a frightening grin. He announces that now Logan is really going to have to work for it. Seeing that expression immediately makes Logan realize he might be in serious trouble. He hurriedly tells Felix to wait and calls him master, asking whether this is still just training. Felix does not answer. Instead, with a murderous look in his eyes, he suddenly attacks from the side. Felix's servant quickly tells his daughter to move aside and stay out of the way. The training session turns into something that looks more like a battlefield. Before long, Logan collapses to his knees. No matter how strong he has become, he still cannot leave even a single scratch on Felix. Behind them, the training hall lies partially destroyed from the clash. While kneeling on the ground, Logan apologizes to Felix for the trouble he caused during the coronation ceremony. Felix responds coldly that he has no idea what Logan is talking about. Logan lifts his head and explains that he only wanted someone trustworthy to remain by the king's side. Hearing this explanation only irritates Felix further. He scolds Logan for dragging him out of retirement without even discussing it beforehand. Logan quietly turns his gaze away. Felix looks down at him for a moment, and then admits that Logan's reasoning is at least better than a weak excuse. After that, Felix announces that they will stop training for the day. Logan thanks him sincerely. Felix then asks Logan when he plans to return to McLean territory. Logan replies that he will leave as soon as the festival ends. Felix comments that this is sooner than he'd expected, and asks whether Logan plans to leave some of his knights behind in the capital. Logan says that he intends to take everyone back with him. Felix points out that the king has placed great trust in Logan, and suggests that leaving a few knights to protect the king would be a wise decision. Logan tells Felix to stop testing him like that because if Felix keeps pushing the issue, he might actually agree to it. Logan then adds that he was actually hoping the Knights of Esperanza could handle that responsibility instead. Felix sighs and says that this is exactly why he warned Logan not to be greedy, because now he cannot suggest anything else. Logan laughs slightly and says that he only has one more request to make. Felix asks what Logan wants this time. Logan's expression turns serious as he tells Felix to begin preparing immediately for a possible invasion by the Empire. That statement completely surprises Felix. Felix says that Logan has always suspected the Empire might have been involved in the previous king's death, but preparing for war immediately seems excessive. He asks Logan whether he truly believes the Empire will attack soon. Logan replies that he does believe it. Felix counters by explaining that the empire is currently struggling with its own internal conflicts. According to reports, it should take at least 5 years for them to stabilize, and during such periods the empire has historically avoided attacking other nations. Logan acknowledges that this is true, but he points out that history also shows the empire tends to invade neighboring countries. Shortly after a new emperor ascends the throne, Felix falls silent and thinks about Logan's warning. Eventually he tells Logan not to worry too much, because as long as he controls half of the western border, the kingdom will remain prepared. Logan remembers that Felix was also prepared in his previous life, yet even that preparation failed to stop the empire back then. However, the current situation is already much better than it was in the past. Because of that, Logan decides there is no need to push the issue further for now, since they both share the same goal. Felix's sword ultimately points in the same direction as Logan's. Felix then tells Logan that he should visit the capital more often in the future. Even though Felix now serves as the king's advisor, he would prefer not to spend his old age buried in endless work. Logan replies that he thought Felix wanted him to stay a little distant from political power. Felix explains that he only wanted to make sure Logan would not lose himself to that power. As long as Logan does not change, Felix believes he will become a loyal servant to the king. Logan silently wonders whether that will truly remain possible. In truth, Logan is already more powerful than the king himself. He cannot help but question how many kings in history would tolerate a subject stronger than their own throne. Still, King Roger is destined to become a great ruler, and Logan believes the king will eventually grow into that role. Felix suddenly interrupts Logan's thoughts and tells him to continue his training. Logan looks surprised and reminds Felix that he just said they were finished for the day. Felix casually replies that, while that was true, Logan will soon be leaving the capital, so Felix needs to squeeze as much training out of him as possible before that happens. Felix begins reigniting his aura again. Logan's reaction makes perfect sense as he realizes what is coming next. Felix tells Logan to keep training even after returning home. If Logan continues pushing himself, Felix believes Logan will keep evolving. Hearing those words makes Logan smile quietly. The following morning, Logan is speaking with Patrick and his father. When Patrick suddenly delivers an unexpected message, he tells Logan that he is not allowed to train or work for the time being. Hearing that, Logan looks completely confused and asks what exactly he means. In fact, Logan even looks a little terrified by the sudden restriction. The reason for this strange order becomes clearer when considering what had been happening during the previous few days. Rumors had begun spreading throughout the capital that the McLean forces were preparing to leave the city. Many nobles began discussing the matter among themselves, pointing out that Logan was not leaving even a single knight behind. They wondered why someone would gather so much military power, only to march away with all of it. Another noble then pointed out that Logan's father-in-law is the prime minister and that his master is the sword duke. Because of that, some nobles began suspecting that the relationship between Logan McLean and the king might be deeper and more influential than they initially believed. Later that night, the scene shifts to the traveling camp. Logan sits beside the fire reading a letter he received. In the letter, someone politely asks him to stop by their lands while passing through, saying it would be the greatest honor if Logan visited them. Logan reads the message and wonders if the sender has lost their mind. After all, who would willingly invite a force of 1,000 soldiers onto their territory, deciding it is not worth wasting time on? Logan tosses the letter into the fire. Nearby, one soldier tells another to go get some sleep, but the other replies that he is currently assigned to guard duty. Overhearing their conversation makes Logan think that perhaps he should have ordered the army to stop earlier so the soldiers could rest properly. While he is thinking about that, someone approaches him and remarks that he looks tired. It is Eileen, who asks if Logan is worrying about something. Logan looks at her and wonders what might have happened to her earlier. For a while, she could barely look. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. Him in the eye, and he wonders if she is feeling better now. Logan tells himself that whatever the issue might be, he should not burden Eileen with it, so he casually tells her that it is nothing serious and not something worth troubling her about. Hearing that answer immediately makes Eileen angry again. She turns her back to him and tells him that he does not have to bother her at all if that is how he feels. Logan stands there, wondering if he somehow messed up again. Eileen then tells Logan that if he keeps walking around looking so worried, the soldiers will start feeling tense as well. Looking directly into his eyes, she says that she does not know how far into the future he plans everything, but he should also pay attention to the people standing beside him right now. After saying that, Eileen excuses herself and begins walking away. Suddenly, Logan reaches out and grabs her hand. Eileen immediately blushes and turns back toward him. To her surprise, Logan has dropped to one knee. She addresses him as Lord while waiting to hear what he intends to say. Logan begins speaking awkwardly, admitting that he has been thinking about things and feels a little regretful. Maybe he should have allowed himself to enjoy the festival more, or explore the capital, instead of focusing only on work. All those small regrets have begun adding up. Logan then says that, if he could redo those moments, he would want to spend them together with Eileen. After saying that, Logan suddenly realizes what he just said and briefly panics inside his head. But when he looks up and sees the expression on Eileen's face, he freezes. She looks incredibly happy. A single tear falls from Eileen's eye as she tells Logan that he should have simply said that from the beginning. She calls him a dummy before stepping closer to him. Eileen tells Logan that once they return home, they should do many things together, whatever those things may be, as long as they are together. Then she closes her eyes and slowly leans toward him. Logan leans forward as well, and the tension between them becomes intense. Not even mere inches away, their soft lips are about to conquer the distance between their souls and create a bridge of love. However, just before they can close the distance, their heavy armor plates collide and stop them completely. The moment is ruined by the sound of metal bumping together. Logan's face turns completely red as he awkwardly comments that Eileen's armor is truly remarkable. Eileen sighs softly, then leans forward again and gently kisses Logan on the cheek instead. As she pulls away, she lightly brushes Logan's hand with her fingers. Then she softly wishes him a good night, before quickly hurrying back toward her tent. Logan remains standing there, watching her leave, completely mesmerized. He slowly raises his hand and touches the spot on his cheek, where Eileen kissed him, still trying to process what just happened. I am going to stop reading if they don't kiss soon. Back at the McLean estate, the atmosphere is lively as everyone gathers to celebrate the return of their heroes. Their trusted coin master, Dwayne, raises a glass, or rather a full pint of wine to welcome them home. One by one, the people in the room lift their drinks in celebration. Rick, who seems to have vanished for ages and suddenly reappeared, loudly tells everyone to step aside because the pride of the McLean's Lord Count Logan McLean has returned. Logan immediately tells him to stop making such a scene. Dwayne laughs and says Rick is not entirely wrong either. Then he gestures toward Patrick and reminds everyone that they should also pay their respects to the new Marquis. Patrick shakes his head and tells him he must already be drunk. After a moment, Patrick stands up and says that this is enough, and that there is someone else in the room who truly deserves their respect. He then looks across the hall toward Viscount Hinckley. Hinckley sits there with half of his head wrapped in bandages and one arm missing. Despite his injuries, he smiles and looks back toward Patrick. He laughs and tells Patrick that he is flattering him too much, seeing that Logan smiles quietly. Later, as Logan walks through the castle with Hinckley, he mentions that he heard from Patrick that Hinckley woke up while Logan was still in the capital, and that he is now officially retired. Hinckley replies that he is grateful for that outcome, and says it was all possible thanks to Patrick's new authority as a Marquis. Logan adds that Patrick even wanted to grant him land as a reward, but Hinckley refused the offer. At that time, Hinckley believed he would have been satisfied even if he had died, as long as it increased the McLean family's chances of victory even a little. Yet, fortune favored him. He survived, and McLean emerged victorious. In his eyes, that was already more than he could ever ask for. Logan responds that it was not merely luck. If Hinckley had not wounded Jordan Valtramine during that battle, Logan might never have been able to defeat him. Hearing this praise makes Hinckley laugh happily. Then Hinckley asks Logan whether he knows about Patrick's long-held dream, but Logan admits he has never heard about it before. Hinckley explains that Patrick always wanted to restore the lost glory of the McLean family, That dream eventually became Hinckley's dream as well. Logan pauses and looks at Hinckley, wondering what he thinks now. Hinckley stops walking and says that thanks to Logan, that dream has already been fulfilled. Because of that, he now wants to dream even bigger. Logan listens with surprise. Hinckley continues explaining that even though he can no longer serve as a knight without his arm or his force, he can still train the next generation of soldiers. Therefore, he asks Logan to appoint him as the training officer for Maclean's army. Hinckley says he wishes to keep dreaming alongside Logan and Patrick. Logan agrees without hesitation and tells him there is no problem at all. Whatever dreams they pursue, Logan promises they will go even further than they once imagined. The next day, Logan and Patrick are speaking together. Logan tells Patrick about his conversation with Hinckley from the previous night. Patrick calls Hinckley a rascal and says the man takes everything far too seriously. Logan agrees, but admits that he now understands what Hinckley meant. Logan says that he plans to head into town immediately because there is still work to handle, and he also wants to continue his training. However, Patrick does not seem pleased with that answer. He asks Logan something carefully, wondering if Logan dislikes him, or perhaps the people living there. Logan is confused and asks what his father means. Patrick explains that other people can easily take care of the aftermath of the war. Logan replies that although that may be true, he would feel more satisfied handling it personally since he already has plans in mind. Patrick then asks Logan whether that plan is truly so urgent that he must keep working endlessly and worrying the people around him. At this point, it no longer sounds like a simple conversation, but rather a father giving firm advice to his son. Patrick finally issues an ultimatum. For the next week, Logan is forbidden from both training and working. If Logan tries to ignore that order, Patrick warns that he will exclude him from all family matters for the foreseeable future. Logan asks what exactly he means by that, but Patrick begins pushing him out of the office, while insisting that it is for Logan's own good, and telling him to get some rest. Just then, someone can be seen running toward them while calling out Patrick's name. The person turns out to be Dwayne. When he notices Logan standing there as well, he remarks that the timing could not be better. Patrick immediately tells him to stop and not say another word. However, Dwayne insists that the matter is urgent. Logan quickly steps in front of his father and tells Dwayne to speak. Patrick looks ready to scold them both, but Dwayne explains that whatever argument they are having should wait, because they need to hear this message first. He says that the news comes from Kalia. Hearing that name immediately makes both Patrick and Logan become serious again. Logan asks if Dwayne means Kalia, as in Wiccan Kalia. Dwayne confirms it. According to the message, 200 soldiers from Kalia's forces, including their knight commander, have arrived in Mechling territory and have formally requested to transfer under Logan's command. On the day of King Roger's coronation, the punishments for the defeated faction of the Civil War were officially announced. Most of the nobles involved escaped with relatively light penalties, such as heavy fines or strict limits placed on the number of troops they could maintain. However, nobody expected the two marquisates that supported the losing side to survive at all. Even then, the king's decision exceeded everyone's expectations. King Rogers explained that the two marquisates were placed in a position where it was extremely difficult for them to disobey the orders of powerful dukes. Because of that circumstance, he chose to spare their lives. Instead of execution, he demoted both of them to the rank of count and confiscated half of their territories. The entire hall was stunned by this announcement. On top of that, the two former marquisates were ordered to serve under the Esperanza Knight Order for 10 years. Logan glanced toward Felix after hearing the verdict, and Felix quietly admitted that he already knew about the decision beforehand. Felix lowered his head and explained that those two nobles had merely been manipulated by the greed of Jordan and Juan. According to Felix, they themselves were not truly greedy men, and warriors with their level of power were valuable national assets. Losing them entirely would have been a waste for the kingdom. Logan understood the reasoning behind that judgment. After all, if the kingdom was going to face the empire in the future, they would need every capable fighter available. Still, Logan never. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Apai. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.